For decades, Pokemon games followed a pretty predictable formula. Players would catch Pokemon, battle them in turn-based encounters, and embark on a linear story journey to collect gym badges and become the Pokemon champion. That established gameplay style, while loved by millions and millions of fans, also created this growing desire among Pokemon fans for innovation and a fresh perspective. Then, a significant shift occurred. Two games emerged that dared to break this long-standing mold, promising a truly different kind of Pokemon adventure. With Pokémon Legends Z-A just around the corner, set to drop this October, it's the perfect time to dive deep into what makes Legends games so unique, how they fundamentally differ from the mainline games, and why Z-A could be the most revolutionary one yet. The journey began with Pokémon Legends Arceus, a groundbreaking title that transported players to the ancient, untamed Hisui region, a land that would eventually evolve into the modern-day Sinnoh region. Legends of Arceus established a distinct identity for the Legends brand. Now, Pokémon Legends Z-A is set up to take the Pokémon series in an entirely new direction, by setting the stage in the modern, redeveloped, and amazing Lumiose City. The immediate contrast in setting highlights a core difference within the Legends subseries, showing that the Pokémon brand is willing to experiment from both time periods and environmental design. The immediate contrast in setting highlights a core difference within the Legends subseries itself, showing that the Pokemon brand is willing to experiment with both time periods and environmental design. The push for the Legends series holds a significant weight for the Pokemon franchise as a whole. There's been an ongoing and vocal discussion among fans regarding the need for innovation within Pokemon, particularly after recent mainline entries like Scarlet and Violet focusing on performance and visual criticism. Many players have expressed the desire for Game Freak, the developers, to push creative boundaries. The Legends games are widely perceived as Game Freak's direct response to fans' calls for change, serving as an experimental branch that is not afraid to take risks. The success and reception of this series could very well dictate the future direction of the entire Pokemon franchise, making it a pivotal moment in Pokemon's history. This positions the Legends series not merely as a spin-off, but as Game Freak's crucial proof for new mechanics and design philosophies, directly addressing long-standing fan criticism of the mainline games and potentially shaping the next generation of Pokemon games. Now, before I get into this section, I know what you guys are going to say, but doggo, it's called Arceus, it's called It's not. It's called Arceus. Arceus, not Arceus. I don't know why they started calling him Arceus in the trailer when he's always been called Arceus, but we're calling him Arceus. Pokemon Legends Arceus marked as a profound departure from the traditional Pokemon gameplay style, and it fundamentally altered how players interact with the world and other Pokemon. The most immediate and impactful change was the overhaul of Pokemon encounters. The game moved away from the long-standing random encounter system, a staple of mainline titles, by making wild Pokemon visibly roam in the overworld. This change, while seen in limited capacities in games like Sword and Shield's Wild Area, became the staple in Arceus, making the environmental feel far more dynamic and alive. To accompany this shift, there were also innovative new catching mechanics. Players were no longer forced into a battle to capture a Pokemon. Instead, they could observe Pokemon's behavior, then strategically sneak up on them, throw Pokeballs directly, or, if necessary, initiate a battle to weaken them first. A crucial element introduced was stealth, where the player character actively hides in tall grass or uses environmental cover to avoid detection, rather than Pokemon hiding from the player. This gave players the creativity that they could choose to engage with wild Pokemon however they wanted to, and they definitely weren't going to be dragged into a Zubat or a Tentacool every time they took a step in a cave or surfed across the water. Combat itself underwent a significant reimagining. Arceus introduced seamless transitions into battle without a separate battle scene. This integration greatly enhanced immersion, making encounters feel like a natural part of the exploration. A groundbreaking addition was the agile style and strong style moves. These styles allowed players to choose between quicker turns with lower power or stronger attacks that would delay their next turn, adding almost this new layer of strategic depth to the otherwise turn-based system. This dynamic action order forced players to think beyond simple type matchups, considering turn economy and risk reward. Furthermore, the player characters gained the ability to move around during battle and even physically run away from wild Pokemon fights. This provided more control and flexibility for players, and the game also introduced Alpha and Noble Pokemon. These were distinct mini-bosses and main boss battles, respectively, while requiring unique multi-stage encounters and specific tactics, such as throwing bombs to pacify Noble Pokemon. and this made battles more dynamic and less static than traditional Pokemon encounters. Even the concept of the Pokédex was redefined in Arceus. Completing a Pokédex entry was no longer a simple matter of catching one of each Pokemon. Instead, it required multiple research tasks, such as catching multiples, observing them use specific moves, witnessing their evolutions, or defeating them in certain ways. Players needed to accumulate 10 research points for each entry to be considered complete. This fundamentally changed the core gameplay loop from a single catch-em-all to a more involved research-em-all. Pokemon Legends Arceus presented a world designed for greater immersion and a deeper connection between players and Pokemon. The game adopted a semi-open world structure featuring a crucial hub in Jubilife Village and several large distinct open areas to explore. This design was a significant step towards a more expansive environment compared to previous games, fostering a sense of adventure. Also, one of my favorite aspects was Arceus strategically removes several traditional competitive mechanics that include held items, abilities, IVs, and EVs, replacing them with a simpler, more transparent effort level system. It made it so the games were more streamlined, and players like myself and others who didn't want to grind out the EVs or IVs of catching eggs or finding the right, Pokemon to battle, we could actually just get into competitive, which I thought was great. Overall though, Pokemon Legends Arceus was widely seen as setting a new precedent for future titles and a step in the right direction for the franchise. It went from telling a player how they should play with the previous linear style to play however you want with this exploration aspect of an open world. Now, before I continue and talk about Pokemon Legends Z-A, I just want to ask kindly if you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button down below. It takes a lot of effort to make these type of videos, and I would really appreciate it. But anyways, we're going to talk about Pokemon Legends Z-A. Pokemon Legends Z-A is poised to take the Legends series in a bold new direction, fundamentally altering the setting and scope of the player adventure. Unlike Arceus's expansive ancient wilderness, Z-A is set entirely within the iconic Lumiose city, rather than the entire Kalos region. The decision to do this has been a significant point of discussion, and some fans are really concerned about it, but it implies a design philosophy focused on density, verticality, and intricate detail within a single highly intricate urban environment. The central story of Pokemon Legends Z-A is revolved around an urban redevelopment plan, spearheaded by a large corporation called Quasartico Inc. Quasartico, I think. So Quasartico is how you say it. But the explicit goal of the Quasartio Inc. project is to transform Lumiose City into a place where people and Pokemon can truly coexist in harmony. As part of this plan, wild zones have been established throughout the city. These are technologically constructed habitats designed specifically for catching and battling wild Pokemon. Within these zones, players will encounter, battle, and catch wild Pokemon, integrating natural habitats into a concrete jungle. The main difference of this, though, is that instead of going in the past like in Arceus, this is taking place in modern-day Lumiose City. The contemporary setting honestly sets the game in a more familiar time period for players that played Pokemon X and Y. It allows for the return of modern mechanics and characters, and it offers a different exploration of human-Pokemon relationship than what was in Legend of Arceus. Pokemon Legends Z-A is pushing the boundaries of open world, because this whole thing is taking place in one big city, not an open environment. Pokemon Legends Z-A is set up to evolve the series' battle system even further, moving beyond Arceus' dynamic turn-based combat towards a true action RPG experience. The game promises a real-time combat system, and it looks totally different from anything we've ever seen. Your character's positioning will matter, Pokemon's positioning will matter, and I'm really interested to see how it's going to look. The game introduces the Z-A Royale, a fierce nightly competition held in battle zones, areas fenced off by high-tech holograms within Lumiose City. Trainers will start at rank Z and aim to raise to rank A by winning battles with the ultimate promise of having a wish granted when they reach the top. This structured, potentially competitive element could fill the void left by traditional gyms and leagues, offering a new endgame challenge and a clear progression path focused on battling skills. And perhaps one of the most anticipated announcements is the confirmed return of Mega Evolutions, a fan favorite mechanic first introduced in Pokemon X and Y. If you ask me, I don't really like what I've seen so far out of Mega Dragonite, but I mean, what do you guys think? I feel like the reception is hot and cold. I'm not a fan, but I know a lot of people who are, especially the people on my stream. So how do you feel about it? Drop a comment and let me know what you think about Mega Dragonite. But either way, whether you love Mega Dragonite or hate Mega Dragonite, the last thing I want to talk about with Z-A is the story. Pokemon Legends Z-A will weave a narrative deeply connected to the lore of the original Pokemon X and Y games, while introducing new characters and a compelling central quest. Players will find their base of operations at Hotel Z, owned by AZ, the 3,000-year-old former king of Kalos, from X and Y. Continuing the Legend series tradition, the confirmed starters for Pokemon Z-A are Chikorita, Tepig, and Totodile. Notably, none of these Pokemon are native to the Kalos region, a choice that reinforces the Legend subseries' distinct identity from mainline games, which typically feature new regional starters. Lastly, we're just going to take a minute here to compare the Legends games with the mainline games. The Pokémon Legends series serves as Game Freak's experimental sandbox and allows developers to test radical departures from the mainline formula. This approach directly responds to long-standing fan desires for innovation and more immersive experiences. Arceus provided players with unprecedented freedom of how they approach Pokémon encounters and exploration, and the ability for Pokémon to interact with each other and the environmental significance deepened the sense of living world. The combat in Arceus, while still turn-based, felt a little more active and strategic with the agile and strong styles and integrated battle mechanics. The fresh narrative approaches and world building that focused on coexistence and discovery were also widely praised by fans. However, the series also faces reoccurring criticisms, particularly concerning Game Freak's visuals and performance. I personally think it still looks pretty bad for 2025. The lack of good graphics does bring up a good point though. Like, when are they actually going to invest in us, the fans, and bring us a real graphic experience like other games that can be played on the Switch too? It doesn't seem fair as a Pokemon fan, personally. But what do you think? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you liked the video, again, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and I'll talk to you guys later.